You know, Flex, thing in previous kind of title challenge eras, you know, when you're going up against Man City's Pep Guardiola, you kind of almost can't afford to drop any points in any game. It almost sounds crazy, but every game, no matter whether you're away from home to the team that's second, third or fourth, you have to win every game. I think this title race obviously feels a little bit different for Liverpool because, sure, we're top of the table by 6 points, but it also feels like the teams that are chasing us, none of them feel like they're good enough to go on a run in the back end of the season where they can win 10, 12, 14 games in a row. It's almost kind of, I think my initial reaction as a Liverpool fan yesterday was, oh man, we dropped 2 points. But I kind of looked at the league table, looked at where we are, and looked at what our rivals are doing, and I kind of thought, you know what, sure, we had chances to win that game, but going to the City ground, all the cliches, a Tuesday night, you know, intense atmosphere under the lights, I think that's a point we will look back on at the end of the season, is, you know what, we'll take that point.
I mean, it's a point's fine. Listen, you're essentially, if that team was Arsenal, the second place team, or third when you played them, or it was traditionally City, who it would, you know, usually be, the connotations around it would be a lot different, because Manchester City, like you said, they're on your tails. You need to beat them, put them outside, because they can win 10, 12, 13, 14 games in a row. And no disrespect to Forest, because look what they're doing. This is massive for them. But I think you're completely right in your assessment, because you don't have that staple team who you know is going to put a run together. Arsenal keep faltering. Man City are all but out of it. Chelsea faltering, no wins in 5, so they're not going to get in there. And it's almost like, well, you go, who are your closest title challengers? And you go, it probably still is Arsenal just by name, and they've been in the title race the last couple of seasons. And Forest obviously are there on merit. But you've created enough buffer to be able to have this, and you've dropped a couple of points against a team that is basically trying to hunt you down anyway. Then they've got a draw, so it's fine.
Flex, they're a fascinating team to watch, Forest, because I didn't know this stat before the game, but the commentator on TV said last night that Forest have, I don't know if it was them or Everton, but they're either bottom or second bottom.
I think they're bottom. 39%.
They got the lowest amount of possession.
Yeah.
I don't think that stat has had enough airtime that the team that are second right now in the Premier League after 21 games have the lowest amount of possession in Premier League matches. That's less than Southampton, who've got 6 points after 20 games.
Yeah, because Southampton have Russell Martin. You're trying to bloody...
But that is... But then you watch the game last night, but you can see why it works for them, because they are so good and so effective at dropping deep. Those two centre-backs, Murilo Milenkovic, genuinely... They are. This is a bold statement to make. We've had some great Premier League centre-back pairings.
Pound for pound.
They are pound for pound. Yeah. Arguably one of the best centre-back pairings I've seen in the Premier League. They are both so good, so strong. That Murillo performance last night.
Solid.
Forest fans won't want me to say this. That boy could play for Real Madrid. That boy could play for Liverpool. He was absolutely outstanding, and yet they're so good off the ball. They're compact, they're well drilled, they've got lots of energy in midfield, and yet also when they need to, they can break really well. They got pace out wide, and the goal. Liverpool give the ball away. 2 passes, Woods in, great.
But that's what I'm saying.
Simple,
you watch
but
them,
so effective.
You watch them. You can look at the stats all you want, but then you take one look at how they play. You go, oh, that's why. A second. That's why,
mate.
You know, it's massive testament to Nuno, because it proves you don't have to have the ball. All these great stats and all these XGs and this, that, and the other. All the stat people who, you know, really home in on them. Great, because they prove some things, but they also disprove a lot. And it shows us about how effective you are when you do get the ball, because their transition is the best in the league.
Flex, if you look at that Forest team on paper, there's an argument. The Sells has been the best goalkeeper in the Premier League this season. Ain has been the best right-back in the Premier League this season. The 2 centre-halves are in the conversation, along with your Van Dijks and your Saliba, as the best centre-backs. I mean, Chris Wood scoring as many goals as everyone apart from 2 lads, and Haaland and Isak.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of the way they play, the 2 wingers, they probably wouldn't swap for anyone in the league, because they've got real, genuine pace there. I mean, just that team, it functions so well, doesn't it? And then you haven't even mentioned someone like Morgan Gibbs-White, who just
keeps brilliant this season.
He ticks everything along.
He's been brilliant this season, and that's what's...
Will they come top 4, do you think?
I think so. Because when it gets really serious, when a lot of teams that have Europe, not so much Chelsea, because they... Don't get me wrong, they have a whole different team for that. Yeah. But, you know, Newcastle are coming. I just think that they have a clear run at this. The only difference is that dealing with the pressure. When there's 10 games to go, you know, the Forest players probably aren't used to being under that sort of pressure.
But is there pressure on them, do you think? Or do you always kind of think it's a little bit of a free hit?
No, there is. Because
they are...
When you're in the position and then you start... Right now, Nuno's playing down things, which is right. obviously playing down a title in public, this, that, and the other. But players will tell you. I don't know if you've ever. I did a show with Danny Simpson not long ago, asking him about.
Sorry, mate. I'll just
pick it up.
that name off the floor. There we go.
It's fine. Well, you've been in talkSPORT nearly 9 years. He's in the building all the time. So I just thought you would have bumped into him. It wasn't exclusive.
I call him, mate. To me, he's Simo. I just call him Simo.
There you go. You
Simo,
probably just message him on WhatsApp if you want.
There we go.
I mean, so we'll pick that one up as well. But I was just saying to him, when did you start to believe you was going to win the league? And when you ask players like that question, you start to get an understanding of the psychology behind it. You are just game by game enjoying the vibe, enjoying the ride, and then when you get to like March, you go, interesting. This is actually a thing now. This is, So I think when you start getting to March, April, May times, especially March and April, and Forest are still there or thereabouts, the scrutiny's the pressure's different, because then they start to switch their focus of happy to be there to we really want that. And I'm not saying they don't want those aspirations now. Of course, if you ask them now, do you want to get in the top 4? Absolutely, they say yes. But what I'm saying is it's still so far away. It's like game by game, until it's not game by game. It's like, if we win the next 4, we've done it. If we win the next 5, that's a different type of scrutiny, and they're not quite used to that. But look, I follow Olanya on his socials.
Fun, isn't he?
He's brilliant. He needs his own show. He needs his own.
He's hosting the
social media. Good. Get him in. Good. I hope I want to be on with him.
It's Ola Ina and Dan Bardell from 3 to 5 tomorrow. Alfie's doing the
That
papers.
will be some show. But I don't know if you saw it. There was these slides on his snap where he was basically saying, I don't know, did we get peppered? Were we lucky? But then again, we've taken 4 points from Liverpool. I'll take that. They couldn't break us down.
I don't want to take anything away from Forest.
Do you know what I mean?
They got lucky. They did get in that second half. It was
Sells made amazing saves.
Oh, he made
amazing
saves.
He
made 4 or 5 top
so
saves.
So it's not really luck. It's just fantastic saves.
You look at their fixtures on paper: Southampton, Bournemouth, Brighton, Fulham are the next 4. And look, we know that Fulham and Bournemouth are good teams, but on paper they'll be looking at those games, given how well they're playing, and they'll be thinking if we can get 10 from that. I still think all the talk for them is going to be about that top 4, and also
absolutely
they could I don't like the idea of 5th players getting in Champions League, because it feels like just too many teams getting Champions League football. But if any team's going to benefit from that 5th place, that extra spot in this country going into Champions League, if it's Forest, they come 5th and it falls to them, I'd be absolutely buzzing for them. Because you know what, Flex, I'm a bit of a romanticist. I love big clubs. They've been a sleeping giant for so many years. They got good fans. They got a great stadium. Passionate supporters. I think it'd be great for the Premier League, great for this country to see. I say a new team in Europe. Obviously, you won it before.
They are not a new team in Europe. For someone like me,
it'd be a new team for me to watch in Europe. Okay?
In this generation of football,
because remember when Newcastle got Champions League football? Was it last season? Now, how great was it? Champions League football under the lights. It's great to see new teams, and I think new teams in the modern era. I should say.
Yeah, exactly. But what it is actually understanding the history of Nottingham Forest, right? Because
that's like so many people,
and that's why it's almost like a sleeping giant being awoken.
I did say exactly. It's the exact phrase I use, sleeping giant.
It is exactly that, because you look at what Clough did at that football club and how successful that football club has been. In the 80s or those times.
You were born
to have that now.
You were born, weren't you?
Absolutely.
And you were just.
Yeah. I used to go to the games.
And you were 20 as well, weren't you? No, I'm joking.
No, I wasn't.
Did you hear the Nottingham Forest fans chant to Arne Slot during the game?
No, what did they say?
So he made a comment about Forest, he couldn't get over the defeat to Forest, and you made a comment about, they've spent lots of money, so they should be, expected to be up there in his press conference before the game. And the Forest fans all game were chanting, in your head, Arne. And I thought that was quite...
Did he smile?
During the game he didn't. I think after the game he had a little bit of a smile, but during the game he didn't. But yeah.
They're on a roller coaster, mate. They're just enjoying it. Like the Forest fans, they all had their scarves out. Yeah. They were waving, and yes, they were under a lot of pressure. But to show that resiliency, that resilience to sort of not concede. And I know you can say on a different day, those shots do find the far corner beyond the keeper, and I get that. But to ride that wave and to be as difficult to break down as they are at times.
I'm probably going to contradict myself here a little bit, very briefly before we break, because I've just said how good they've been, how effective they've been in terms of sitting deep and hitting teams with counter-attack. But sometimes I do watch Forest, and I did watch the game last night, and I thought you got some really good players in that team. Good ball-playing midfielders like Gibbs, White and Anderson. I mentioned 2 pacey wingers. And I sometimes thought last night, are they paying Liverpool almost a little bit too much respect?
Yeah, like go for
Should
a bit
they be
more.
trying to cause Liverpool too many problems?
Yeah, because they don't really press, do they? They kind of just...
No, yeah.
And with the players they've got, they could cause
They
big
basically
problems.
go man for man off the ball in terms of trying to stop Liverpool in that way.
Yeah.
But it did finish 1-1 at the City Ground last night. Liverpool, of course, still top of the Premier League on 47. Forest have 41.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.